Oh, I meant to change that. Got it. Okay, might have just kicked the chief out. There we go. And then okay, we are ready to start. I think we're live streaming and I am recording. It's 6:30 and I think we're yeah, wait, let me okay, now we're set. We are streaming. And so with that, I'd like to make a motion to open the New Paltz Town Board as Police Commission meeting open it for October 21st, 2021.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. See if I can do what I've been meaning to do for a while here. No, I guess I can't. All right. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
United States of America,
of America and
to the republic
Republic
for
for
which it
stands,
stands,
indivisible,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To make a motion to approve the agenda for the police commission as written.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Chief, do we have any announcements?
Hi, Supervisor. Yep, I have a couple announcements. Just first, that we're continuing our conversations with the police. We had one our October meeting session was last night at the new PD. We had 4 people attend, so it was nice. We will continue those. They will be at the police department through the winter, and then we'll start doing some outdoors, some other locations in the spring. This Saturday is National Drug Take Back Day. So we encourage anybody that has any unused, unwanted medications that they can dispose of them at the PD in the lobby there. I wanted to thank publicly, and I apologize for the background noise here, the Elting Memorial Library for inviting us to this year's book fair. It was on October 2nd. We tabled at the fair and it was really, really well received. So we want to thank them, and something we'll be at again next year. And also just to make people aware, if they haven't, they can check our Facebook page, and I know the town's website for some of the Halloween activities that are taking place. We're going to be also participating in the Duzine Lenape Trunk or Treat event on October 28th for Duzine and Lenape students. So we're kind of excited about that. We're going to decorate one of our police cars and hand out candy. So we're looking forward to that. And that's all I have really for announcements.
Great. Okay, and with that, I'd like to open the floor for public input. Just so everyone knows, the meeting's being live streamed. So if you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand on Zoom. Try to keep it to 3 minutes. And if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. And so, Maggie, you have a comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Edgar. Sorry about that.
Edgar?
Edgar Rodriguez. My name is Edgar Rodriguez, resident of New Paltz for 48 years and members of the New Paltz Coalition for Community Safety and Wellbeing. My question tonight is on the Police Commission law and on the agenda items number 7 through number 8E on the EO 203 recommendations from the Steering Committee of the Police Reinvention Committee. Question 1, what is the timeline for developing the policies for recruitment, qualifications, training, mission, and dissolution of the New Paltz Commission that cannot be included in the new law for the Police Commission, according to the town attorney. And second question, likewise, what is the timeline for the policies related to agenda items 7 through 8E, describing the ideal officer, etc.? Those are all enumerated in your agenda. Those are my questions for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? If not, we will move on to the first item, discussion and referral to the town board for the
There's a-
approval.
There's a
Yeah. Oh, there is a, I don't see any hands raised, but I'll ask one more time. Are there any, does anyone have any comments they'd like to make?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to, yeah, I just got on,
Okay, please
so
go ahead.
I didn't have a chance to raise my hand. I noticed that part of the agenda will include reviewing how police officers are evaluated. And I know that you'll be going through the ideal officer traits. So I'm wondering, number one, is there a way of getting access to the current evaluation tool that's used to do annual evaluations of our police officers? And I'm wondering how, what will be the process of incorporating the specifics of what the ideal officer is in that evaluation? That's one. Third question becomes, will the public get a chance to see what ultimately becomes that evaluation tool? I like to think that you measure what you value, and I'm sure that the work that you're doing will somehow come across in that evaluation tool. So fundamentally, that's my question. How do we, the public, see that tool, get a chance to look through it ourselves, and then be able to add public comment at the appropriate time? Thank you.
All right, thanks. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to discussion and referral to the town board. Approval to hire Michael Vespi and Tyler White as full-time police officers effective November 1st, 2021 at the rate outlined in the collective bargaining agreement.
So if I could just,
Second.
I'll add sorry. I just wanted to give the board a little bit of a background. These two hires would be to replace to fill two of the three existing full-time vacancies that we have, which will help us backfill openings in our A line and our C line. Both Vespi and White are just finishing their field training, completing shadow phase this week. They've done very well in field training, no issues, and we're looking forward to having them in the full-time ranks to help alleviate some of the stresses that our full-time officers are experiencing.
All right. Thanks for the background on that. Any discussion on this? If not, we'll move on to discussion and referral to the town board for the approval. So I'd like to make a motion to refer to the town board to hire Michael Vespi and Tyler White.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, number two is a referral to the town board to hire Amanda Snyder as a part-time police officer effective November 11th, 2021.
Second.
Any discussion? Chief, do you want to
So
comment
just
on that?
just to let you all know, Amanda is a 2017 graduate of Walk Hill High School. She has her associate's degree from Dutchess, her bachelor's in criminal justice and law administration from Western Connecticut State. She's currently completing phase 1 of the police academy, and we would be hiring her and then sending her to phase 2. She is a squad leader with the academy. They speak very highly of her there. We did very well with the interview. We believe she would make a great addition here to the PD.
Terrific.
Chief, can you explain why is she being hired as a part-time officer if there's a third opening for a full-time officer? Is she not interested in that position?
She is. We would look to. My plan is to come before the board in December as long as everything goes well with her completing phase 2, to move for a full-time hiring then. I think it makes more sense just right now to use a part-time slot for her to finish phase 2 of the academy. And then when she does her field training, we would start her out, come before the board to start her out as a full-timer. It's a cost benefit for that, doing it that way. And she is definitely interested, and we're looking for her to fill that third slot for full-time.
Thanks, Rob.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, can I just
Go
ask
ahead,
one more?
sorry.
Can I ask, sorry, one more question? Rob, is she aware that she would be hired full-time in December or January? Is she aware that
No,
that's
we have-
coming?
we-
That's a
we-
possibility?
We had not. We told her that's a possibility, but we have not guaranteed anything to her. But just saying that this is the plan that we have. And again, I apologize for the screaming in the background.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry, I just squeezed that question in, but second. We didn't
All right.
get one.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So number 3 is review and discussion of the DCJS MPTC updates and revisions made to the New Paltz PD policy and procedures 12.5 background investigations. That is a mouthful. And so I'll hand it over to you again, Chief.
So yes, it is. I sent all of you a couple of updates from DCJS. The first was from the dated September 24th from the Municipal Training Council. Really, the only thing in that update that pertain to us is the standards, the medical and physical fitness standards that were enacted as part of the new legislation, the Policing Act, and that agencies are recommended that agencies use polygraph examinations and polygraph and psychological evaluations in their background investigations, which is something we do. Really nothing that we need to change in that. The change in our policy is related to the second update that I sent you all, dated October 8th. And in there, as part of the New York State Professional Policing Act, agencies must, they dictate exactly what background procedures must be done. We fulfill all of them except for the last, which was the search of the Central Data State Registry of Police and Peace Officers, which is now just becoming available to us. This was not something we had available to us previously. So the New York State Professional Policing Act made this database available and is now requiring agencies to search this database. In terms of what we did on our policy, we updated page 3 of our policy to read exactly as the update that pursuant to 9 NYCRR 6000, we will conduct a search of the Central Registry of Police and Peace Officers and the National Decertification Index. We updated that policy. A copy of that policy is on our website with the changes highlighted. Just so you all are aware, we created a new button on our website where anytime we have a new or updated policy or some sort of revision or a new policy that we're going to implement, we'll put it on the website and people can access that. And there's on there right now is this particular policy as well as a draft of our discipline matrix.
Yeah, thanks for providing that additional transparency on the website. That's great.
And so do we need to make a motion to accept this updated policy, or is that for the town board? Or it's the policy, it's within the purview of the department? Just to be clear.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's part of
Sorry
a
to put
larger
you on the
discussion. I
spot.
think yeah, no, I think in this case, it's, we have to do this. It's the state of New York
Oh,
telling us. So that's, it's not something that we're coming up with like the discipline matrix where, there's a little bit more back and forth. This is what the state of New York says we have to do for any new hires, anyone hired after October 16th, 2021.
Makes sense. Okay, well, I guess we'll accept it. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of part-time dispatcher Megan Miller.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 So the next one is a review and referral to the town board for the approval to use up to $18,000 from the seized assets account to purchase a new voice recorder system.
Second.
So, sorry.
Got discussion.
I
Go ahead,
always
Chief.
jumped the gun.
Yeah.
I apologize. I have to wait for the discussion part. Just so you all are aware, our current voice recorder is about 8 years old. It's nearing its life expectancy. And so we have been working with the company Interaction, who we purchased our previous 2 or 3 systems from, and looking at a new system to replace. In the past, we have bought them outright using seized assets. And then on a couple of occasions, we have leased those. And so I think right now, the best option would be to buy it outright. We can get it in place to accommodate the recordings in our station. And so just so you all are aware, every phone line and every radio is recorded in the station. So whenever there's a radio transmission, it's on this voice recorder, as well as any phone call to the police department.
All right. So
I think Dan already seconded the motion to refer this to the town board.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the next one is review and discuss recommendations of the New Paltz Police Reform Reinvention Committee.
You're one ahead, Neil.
Oh,
You gotta
I
go to
skipped,
num-
yeah, sorry, review.
you skipped number 6.
So number 6 is review by police commission and referral. So yeah, people are paying attention. Referral to the town board, approval of the deposit of $2,000 donation to the police department's computer reserve fund. And so,
Rob, you want to
discussion?
say anything about this?
Yes, I just was going to wait this time. So this was actually the donation from the estate of a local resident who passed away. He donated $2,000 to the police department, the fire department, and the rescue squad. So I'm looking for approval from the board so that we could deposit this money into our computer reserve line. That's a fund that we keep to make any unexpected purchases for computer-related equipment. So this is not something we have to spend immediately. It would be something that we spend when it's necessary.
Make a motion to refer this to the town board.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
And so now this is number 7 is review and discuss recommendations of the New Paltz Police Reform Reinvention Committee that all officer evaluations must include comments on the basis of aggregated data that shows patterns in their civilian interactions. And so I can turn it over to you, Chief, if you want to discuss this.
Yeah, so what this recommendation was based upon is looking at our overall evaluation system now. Every year, our officers receive an annual evaluation, and it's compiled using a number of different metrics. Those metrics include problem solving. They include report writing, investigatory abilities, follow through, things like that. The one thing that the committee did cite and wanted to see is ways that we can document interactions with the public. The fact that the public, what are we doing to be more engaging with the public, and wanting to see how officers are evaluated on that rather than other statistics. we don't use other statistics. Like we're not basing our evaluations on number of arrests or citations issued or anything like that. I would say the only statistic that I think matters to me is how much foot patrol you walk. And the officers will tell you that, the sergeants will tell you that. That is really the only thing that, we really look at statistic wise. Are you out there? Are you engaging with the public? Are you meeting with business owners, things like that? So one of the recommendations that the committee had was to track that in the foot patrol cases. So, and that's what officers have been doing. They'll go, and when they sign off for a foot patrol per se, they'll say, I stopped at this business, and this business. I spoke with, these people. And it's a way for us to track that activity and be able to document that. So that was the biggest recommendation from them in this. Our evaluation, as I said, it's like a 22-page evaluation form, but it does not incorporate arrests or citations in determining those evaluations.
Okay.
So you're
Yeah,
saying,
thanks,
Chief,
Rob.
you're saying, Chief, that you are now going to include some of that data about foot patrols and other things like that, other aggregated data that is important to you.
Yes, and with that, we want to keep in mind, what are our officers doing to help solve problems in the community? What proactive steps are they taking that aren't enforcement related? And so, the committee wanted us to look at things like our foot patrol, but also our community-oriented policing calls. What are officers doing in terms of service or attending meetings, things like that. And so those are the big focus for us in these evaluations. And that's something, but the committee wanted to see more documentation towards that.
Yeah, I think it sounds great. The foot patrols have always been a sore spot for me, but I got to say, I've been seeing a lot more officers walking the streets, and it's really refreshing. And so good work there.
All right. Yeah, I that's a
Thank
nice
you.
metric to include. And I'm glad to hear you don't include, how many tickets or how many arrests. It's I didn't think you would, but it's nice to have that confirmed, and also to kind of point it out to the public that we're not promoting people because they're giving people speeding tickets. There are other metrics that we use to gauge effective policing. And so number 8 is review and discuss recommendations of the NPP RRC that all members of the New Paltz PD should fit the criteria of our ideal officer, be they current members or future hires. The ideal officer is one who, A, has or wants deep ties to the community in which they serve, B, actively seeks training and education, especially in those areas that lead to de-escalation and deeper understanding, such as social work, addiction services, mental health and counseling, psychology, foreign languages, domestic violence interventions. C, are committed to nonviolent solutions to community problems. D, have a demonstrable commitment to anti-racism, not the same as being unbiased. E, this is a general list and should be built upon and made more specific and nuanced over time. We are aware that there may be those who disagree with the shift in thinking and practice that we are proposing. Given our community commitment to anti-racism as a way of being together that is essential to community safety and wellness, there must be a means of moving forward. And so I'll turn it over to the chief for discussion.
So, just some of the questions that were raised in the public comment portion, just to give a little background about how we go about hiring. Under civil service law, when we're hiring for a full-time position, we must use the certified civil service list. So we request a list from civil service, and we have to interview the top 3 scores on that list. It's top 3 scorers on that list. And then from there, we would select a candidate we would have them complete, we would interview those three, we'd select a candidate, and then we have them complete the personal history statement. It's about a 25-page document that they must complete with all kinds of information. And then from there, we begin the background investigation portion of that. If an applicant is successful in that part, then we move on to the polygraph examination, then a psychological examination, and then from there they're hired, brought before the board and then hired. So that's the process. And one of the things that the committee wanted us to look at, or we did look at, are the questions that we asked during our interviews. And so they had made a number of suggestive questions that we wanted to see them in that standard questionnaire that we use. And we have incorporated their suggestions in that. Their questions really are trying to help us gauge an applicant's attitude towards race and racism. And so we began using those in early 2021, and we continue to use them now. One of the things that was not included in the recommendation, but part of many of the discussions that we had centered around the recruitment, hiring, and retention of officers. And I know we've had this discussion at previous meetings, and finding ways that we can mitigate the turnover that we're seeing. As I said in a previous meeting, we were looking at losing a tremendous amount of policing experience in the next 5 to 6 years. So when we do find that ideal officer, we want to try and retain them, and that has to be a priority as well. My concern is that if if we continue to lose the good officers, or we cannot retain them, then we may have some poor officers, and then that creates an over-reliance upon supervision and discipline. If things are working right, your 5 pillars, there's no undue strain on any one of those pillars. The people, the policies, the training, the supervision, and the discipline. But if one of those are weak, then it causes problems with all. And this was a discussion that we had at length. How, when we have that ideal officer, can we hold on to them? We didn't have an answer. We're still searching for that answer. And as we had these discussions at previous meetings, I'm not sure how we can, what the best way is. I have some ideas, and I think things that we can explore in the coming months. But that was certainly a large part of the discussion we had.
Great. All right. Well, with that, I think that's all we have for tonight's Town Board of Police Commission meeting. We're pushing the monthly report back. We're trying to keep this meeting short. We have some other obligations going on tonight, and so that's all we have for this meeting. The Town Board doesn't start for another 30 minutes, so I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the Town Board of Police Commission meeting, and then I'm going to pause the recording, and I will see everyone back in a half an hour.
Second.
Everyone okay with that?
Fine with that.
All right.
Fine with
All
that.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I will see you all in 30 minutes, 32 minutes. Hey, everybody, it's 7:28. We have about 2 minutes. And we will start the public hearing. Welcome back, everyone. It's 7:30. I would like to, I've started the recording. We are streaming. And I would like to make a motion to open the public hearing for a local law to amend Chapter 27, taxation of the code of the town of New Paltz to add a new Article 8 override of the tax levy limit established in general municipal law, Section 3C.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. And if anyone has any public comments, please raise your hand and I will ask you to unmute. If not, I would like just leave this hearing open for while we move on to the agenda items, and then someone please make sure, remind me to close it before we do anything with this. And so with that, I would like to make a motion to open the town board meeting for October 21st, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
America, and to
and
the
to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
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 God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice.
justice for all.
Great. And I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
And I'd like to open the floor for public input. Just so everyone knows, meeting is being live streamed. So please mute yourself when you're not talking. If you would like to make a public comment, you're welcome to turn your camera on, leave it off. That's your decision. And just raise your hand and I will call on you. So Edgar.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Edgar Rodriguez, resident of New Paltz. The New Paltz Community for Community Safety and Wellbeing is asking that you highlight in the 2022 budget and your presentation on November the 4th, the direct funding to help people in the community in programs such as the New Paltz Office of Community Wellness, the Teen Scene, the Senior Citizen Program, Moriello Pool, Field of Dreams, the Family of New Paltz, And most important, are there any plans to offer child care programs? Since our child care center was ordered to be torn down by the town board. This is important because you found lots of money for the new firehouse, the police department, and courthouse. How about significant funding for the community needs and for child care? Thank you.
Tom?
Unmute. Good evening. Right. I'm sorry I don't see Chief Lucchese on the board anymore. I definitely wanted to applaud his move to add the draft policies and regulations to his webpage. Thank you. On another front, there was the discussion earlier about the recommended change in the evaluation process. And I think the Reinvention Committee was actually thinking about something else other than sort of how many times somebody stops by, does foot patrol. The term aggregated data has a specific meaning in their report. It refers to the collection of the racial and ethnic profile of people who are stopped by officers in the course of their duty. And that is one of their other main recommendations, to begin collecting that data. And that data has been started collecting, and there was and is to be an initial report on that data collection given by Chief Lucchese to the Police Commission. I believe that's supposed to happen next month. And so while it's true that the way that the recommendations are worded is a little ambiguous in the report, I think in the context of a report on how a police department can combat and limit racism in its own ranks, it does make a lot of sense to add an evaluation metric that looks at the racial and ethnic distribution of the people stopped by that particular officer. I think that's where they were headed, not, has an officer stopped in to check in with stores and that sort of thing. I will direct these comments also directly to Chief Lucchese. On budget issues, we've had very informative, informal conversations about the budgetary process with Deputy Supervisor Torres, but still want to reaffirm our request for more transparent, user-friendly budget process. You're setting the budget hearing for 11/4. We're hoping that by then you will publish the preliminary budget in Excel or CRV format.
We meant to do that, sorry. Oh, that was, that'll happen.
Great. Post a budget overview narrative. Publish a town organization chart. And post more detailed cost breakdowns for the larger departments, notably the police department. Two comments about the consent agenda, which I haven't learned from Dan about how the consent agenda works, but fundamentally it's that you guys don't discuss anything about it. You just vote for them all together. I don't know how something gets on that agenda. But item B is the final memorandum of agreement between the town of New Paltz and the town of New Paltz Police Association. So there's nothing posted about this. We don't know what it's, we'd like to know what the major provisions are going to be. Will it be posted on the town site? Why would there be no public discussion of an item that is potentially so important to achieving the goals of police reform and reinvention, not to mention the budget? So very perplexing that that's simply buried somewhere in the consent agenda. Item F, the 2021 adopted budget notification. Again, I can't imagine that the board members don't have questions about this. Not sure how you avoid having some public discussion about it. Two large changes, in particular, $55,000 to the police for contractual expenses and $15,000 to the building contractual expenses line. This is coming fairly late in the year, large amounts. Please tell us what those items are for, since you're not going to have public discussion about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So no public discussion.
There's a hand up, okay.
Yeah, Maggie?
Hi there. I'm really happy that I was able to review the tentative budget this year. And I wanted to comment on two aspects of that budget. I understand that the tentative budget will be modified during the next month of the process. But as a taxpayer, I open it up and I look at it and I say, ooh, this represents almost a 10% increase from year to year. And with the understanding that I now know that it will be modified. But I guess it's hard for me to give solid input on something that I think probably is includes some items that may be more than department heads think can be funded, or even the board itself will initially say cannot be funded, because 10% increase is not something taxpayers would probably support, nor you as a board for that matter, I think. So I guess I'm thinking that it would be helpful if the tentative budget really reflected something that was closer to the margin of an increase that is possible fiscally. And it might mean that department heads are giving guidance to what is possible and not possible, because that way they come up with a budget that we, the publics, look at and can say, well, this is something close to what will happen, and then we can get into the nitty gritty and not think that some of this is wishful thinking. So I worked at doing my own budgets when I was administrator. Our business officer would give us information about, listen, this is what we expect in relation to income or resources and revenue, I guess is the term. And then we had a margin to say what we can and cannot do. It might have meant that this year we can expect that we're not going to get 1% of what we were expecting, and you might need to reduce some things by an average of 1%, or vice versa. We have a margin. We know that certain things are going to increase by 3-4%, and that's what you need to include in your margin. So I guess I'm hoping that the tentative budget in the future can reflect more of what's likely to be fiscally responsible, with an understanding that even at the state where the proposed budget comes in, there will be some changes there too that the public can comment on. But the other thing I want to comment on really is there's a $300,000 increase in debt service. I don't know if that can be broken down more definitively for the public to understand where is that increased debt service coming from. I don't want to conjecture that it is from any specific place. I can say it might be from the police department and from the fire department debt that we've incurred, but I think that we'd like to know how much of that debt service goes to what debt or to what projects that have been included now in that debt service. Because I think that one of the things we also learn is that when you do a project, what the cost is only a portion of what the project is, because the debt service also has to be included in that cost as a consequence of whatever interest, however low it might be, would be included in the overall cost of that. Years ago, we had a proposal for a new middle school, and that included a huge increase in debt service, and which would have cost an increase in taxes. And we fought it, and we were able to stop it. And we could do that because we understood it was just specifically for the middle school. So I'd like to see that happening with the debt service for this budget. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments? If not, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda 1A through 1F.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Can you address Tom, anything around Tom's questions about those two items specifically, Neil?
So let's see, the cost overruns are because last year we asked the department heads to cut their budget down to almost nothing. And those increases at the end of the year are for items that end up costing more. You know, we still have to buy, paper towels. We still have to buy, building maintenance costs. Things still cost money. We asked department heads to cut back as much as they could. We also asked the police to cut back as much as they could. We were hoping we wouldn't have overtime and things like that. But if you have followed if you go out at 4 a.m., you know that now we have overtime for the police at 4 a.m. because there are fights up and down Main Street. And if you've been paying attention to these use of force reports, there are lots of incidents happening. And so we also have overtime because we're down 4 officers, I think, because we're trying not to replace people. And that worked when we didn't have a lot of, we weren't putting people onto the late night shift because the bars were closed. But suddenly the bars opened, and now we have to do that, and we do it with part-timers. And so that costs money. And so that's what those budget mods are. We're taking money from other departments or maybe contingency. That's what they are.
Great,
And-
thank you. And would you just also address the New Paltz Police Association and the town of New Paltz, the memo of agreement? That's based on our labor negotiations, correct?
That's for the labor negotiations. And, I'm pretty sure those are publicly available. I assume they are. We don't have them out right now. The board needs to approve it, and then it will be publicly available. I think you can search on See Through New York. I mean, we've been criticized for not putting the police contracts out in the public, but all you have to do is Google See Through New York, and you can look up most labor contracts in the state of New York. So I'm sure it'll be there.
Thank you.
So all in favor?
Aye.
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 So let's see, adoption of local law. This is number 2. Do we have any more comments on the tax cap? If not, I'd like to close the public hearing for that. And this is the resolution for this law has been posted on the town website. I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Second,
Just a process question. Shouldn't we make a motion to close the public hearing first?
I think I did, but I'll
Yeah.
say it again. Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 3 is a motion to approve the hiring of Michael Vespi and Tyler White as full-time police officers effective November 1st, 2021, at the rate outlined in the collective bargaining agreement.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 aye,
Motion to approve the hiring of Amanda Snyder as part-time police officer effective November 11th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Motion to approve the use of $18,000 from seized asset account to purchase a new voice recorder system.
Second.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the deposit of $2,000 donation to the police department's computer reserve fund.
Second.
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Motion to approve the hiring of Adrian Asensio as a part-time court officer beginning 10/22/21 at a rate of $18 an hour.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
Motion to approve the hiring of temporary help for the courts to move to 59 North Putt at a cost not to exceed $1,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is authorization to waive penalty fees for account number 1131-258-268 for 258 to 268 Main Street. The full amount of the bill was paid plus bill plus penalties was not accepted by our online payment. So Gene has requested authorization to waive a portion of the penalty fees. They're still paying some of the penalties, but not all of them. They tried to pay all of their bill, but our software wasn't allowing it, but they still paid a huge amount. And we're more interested in getting the payment than we are in arguing about the last bit. So we're waiving $1,294 in penalties.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 So this a motion to authorize the purchase and installation of a new phone system from PCM Communications LLC at 59 North Putt Corners Road for a total of $16,000, $187.50, with a 50% down payment of $8,093.75 due immediately for equipment balance due at completion.
A question on that. Is this due to some of the phone difficulties we were having, Neil, or is this part of the budgeted phone system that was supposed to go in there anyway?
This is, we're switching back to copper lines. So it's part of the construction costs. So it's covered by the construction cost, but it allows us to have the old copper lines, which are more reliable, which we're going to end up saving money on the copper lines because we're reducing the number of lines in the end. And so we hadn't planned to go all copper because everyone says, oh, the future is voice over IP and fiber and everything else. But when we've been having problems with the phones. And so we're going back to more traditional way. We have the option to, in the future, as Fios comes into the area and things are more reliable, we'll switch over to Fios. But until Fios comes in, we're probably going to stick with copper because it works always. So this is a little bit of both of those, David.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This motion to authorize Buildings and Grounds to hire Chris Klixner as a municipal worker 2, beginning November 1st, 2021, at a rate of $25.14, increasing to $25.70 an hour on January 1st, 2022, and to $26.80 on October 25th, 2022, all according to union contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Let's see, discussion of proposed local law to amend the town code of the town of New Paltz to add a new chapter 110, rental and vacant residential properties, to the code of the town of New Paltz. And I will hand it over to David for discussion. Do you want to talk about this now, David, or?
Yes, yeah, just a short summary. Thank you, Neil. And big thanks to Stacy Delareed and Joe Moriello and Neil, who helped work on something that's been long overdue, which is registering our rental and vacant properties. As you'll see in the posted proposed law, this proposed new chapter of our town code titled Rental and Vacant Residential Properties accomplishes the following. It requires that all rental and vacant properties in the town submit a registration statement with the building department and obtain an annual registration permit to operate. Obtaining this permit will require a statement that is in compliance with local zoning. So we will ensure, Stacy will be ensuring that every application complies with zoning, state, national fire, health, and safety regulation, and is deemed safe and in good maintenance for the protection and benefit of renters and neighbors. With this new chapter, we expect to accomplish the following. First, prevent unauthorized rental units that create public health and safety violations. For example, sometimes there's some landlords who might try to rent 5 rooms in a 3-bedroom residence, or might try to rent a basement that is not approved as a bedroom. This will allow us to see what they're trying to do, also to go in and inspect. The second thing is it will ensure that vacant properties, which there are quite a few, are maintained in good condition and meet health, fire, and safety codes for good of our neighborhood. Next, that will be informed and updated with contact information of the owner and local property managers of all rental and vacant properties, so we can easily contact owners and property managers with questions and concerns. Owners will need to have a property manager that's within 15 miles of the resident property. And you will not be able to be just completely absent. Next, it will help maintain housing affordability by requiring adherence to our local zoning, safety, and maintenance requirements for non-owner occupied long and short-term rentals. We'll also be establishing fees for that annual registration and inspection and penalties for violations. And it also makes possible to begin to inventory all rental properties, where Stacy and our town will have we have an inventory of properties that are for rent. We might be able to share those with folks who are looking to rent properties and say, here are the properties that are permitted to be renting. So all of those things are possible. Just to note that this chapter specifically excludes registration for properties used for agricultural purposes, as well as owner occupied dwellings. So if I am renting one of my bedrooms to someone, I am exempt from this law. It also excludes multiple dwellings, accessory dwellings, or bed and breakfast establishments, as they are already regulated in other parts of the code. So this chapter, I know we've been talking about short-term rentals specifically as well. This chapter does not go there yet into what we're going to do about where short-term rentals are and aren't, but it does require those rentals to register. So we begin to know who those are and where those are. So that's what this is. And so are there any questions from the town board regarding this new law?
Well, first, David, I want to thank you so much for doing this. It's a lot of work, and I really appreciate all the groundwork that you did on this. I guess my question is how once this is set into motion, do you think that the short-term rentals would come soon after that? Or is this something that it's going to take a lot more effort on everyone's part?
Well, we kind of were trying to put them together, and then we really thought about it and said, the registration is a separate issue. Hopefully, we're going to have a discussion, and thanks for nudging that on the 26th. That's next Tuesday, I believe, at 6:30 p.m. We are going to have a public discussion to specifically speak to our community and have our community speak to us about the challenge of short-term rentals throughout our community and the increase in short-term rentals we've been seeing. There are some more tricky legal issues around regulating short-term rentals and how we do this. So we want to take a little bit more time to do this. I'm hoping in the next couple of months, we will have a law to propose that will address this as well, if we move it along. And I'm hoping that I will be moving it along.
Great, thanks, David. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I might have missed some of that. I'm sorry, but I think that, like what David said, I think an important first step is to kind of get the data, right? And I think this really helps us get that data. We're going to be working with the county. They're going to give us the number of short-term rentals. And that way, when people say, well, why do you need to do this, right? We have some numbers to kind of base our decisions on, right? Everyone knows, well, we know there's some, but I think it's better that we do this first, and we work on the next step. We clearly have to do something, right? We know that it's not just New Paltz. Almost every mean, every town around us has done some sort of regulation for short-term rentals. I think it's not a matter of if it happens, it's what and when it happens. And so, but I think my concern was that would slow, if we tried to combine the two of them together, it would slow this first step down. And I've been wanting to do this first step for a long time. I think it's really important. What David has pointed out, when I've talked to the fire chief or Stacy on multiple different occasions, every once in a while they'll end up, just because there's a fire call or a problem with the building, they'll end up at some house that is not safe for the tenants. And it's because we have not been inspecting them and registering them. And I think we need to do that. And so I thank you, David, for pushing this, and Stacy, I think, for doing a nice job. I really like the law. And so I'm looking forward to moving forward on this. Thanks, David.
I wanted to say something, so did my dog. But I wanted to I appreciate David and Stacy, and I'm definitely in favor of this. I wanted to just clarify, when I heard you say that when someone doesn't live within 15 miles of their rental, that they would not be allowed to do that. Can you just clarify that?
I believe the law reads, and you have to take a look at it, but I believe they have to have a local contact person or property manager. It's not that they can't have a rental property that's registered. It's that if they are living 2 hours away, they need to have assigned someone who is a local property manager of that property, who we can call and say, there's a violation, you have to come and cure this. That we have someone local to reach to.
Thanks for clarifying. Yep, that's great.
Any other questions?
I just want to thank you again, David, for doing that, and just kind of also say to you that obviously housing and housing needs are even more prevalent now post-COVID than they were just a year and a half ago. So I'm happy we're taking this step forward, and I certainly have my own ideas as well, but I'd like to see us kind of continue to find more ways to help our constituents out when it comes to housing.
Yeah, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Alex and Julie and Neil. This is not intended to cure affordable housing. That is going to take very specific projects, as Evelyn Wright taught us really well when she presented. But these are the steps that we can take to make sure it's a fair playing field, and that we're putting the needs of all of our community at the forefront, and making sure it's a fair playing field for all. So the short-term rental will go a little further in. I agree with Neil. I want to, say if our community is watching today and looking forward to the meeting on the 26th, it's not going to be a great meeting to tell us why we don't need short-term rental regulation. It is going to be a really good meeting to come with ideas and solutions for how we treat that fairly. Because I think I speak for most of my colleagues on the board that we are going to be moving on short-term rental regulation, and we want to know how to do it fairly and as well as we can without, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We want to do it mindfully and carefully. We've seen a lot of other laws. We're reviewing a lot of other laws, including our own village law, and we're trying to figure out what makes sense for the town of New Paltz. I would ask Dan, if you have easily accessible data from Evelyn at the county on just data on housing prices and other challenges that we're experiencing in the county and in the town. I'd love to get some of that data. I'm happy to look it over myself ahead of the 26th meeting. And Neil, love to get any data we have on how many short-term rentals there are, where that's come from, so that we're not going into that meeting blind, that we have some data to share. So
yeah, I'm not sure.
Any support. Yeah,
I'll definitely look. I'm not sure if the county has information exactly as you described, but if they do, I will inquire.
Yeah, or just getting Evelyn's presentation.
That I can definitely get.
I think she had a really good deck that had some good data in it, and it's pretty current. So if it's possible for you to track that down for me, that would be awesome. And I'm happy to look it over and have some of that information.
Yep, I think I can get that for you.
Thanks, Dan. And thank you all. With that, if there, I would like to set a public hearing for this
I'm gonna,
proposed law. Go ahead.
I'm
You want to
gonna
take us through it, Neil?
Yeah, so I just, I'll declare, so we have number 13, we have a motion to declare the town board lead agency. This is posted on the town website. This is a type 2 action for seeker. And so I'd like to, if I could get a motion to pass that resolution.
Yeah.
A second to
yeah.
pass that. I'd like to make a motion to pass the resolution that we have on the town website, declaring lead agency and declaring this a type 2 action.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And now we can set a public hearing. Sorry, David. So
Go ahead,
I'm
Neil.
happy to do that.
You know what we got to do.
And so I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing for the proposed local law titled "A Local Law to Amend the Code of the Town of New Paltz to add a chapter 110 rental and vacant residential properties to the town code of the Town of New Paltz for November 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and so the next item is the budget discussion. And so, I mean, just to kind of, I don't want to get too much in the details, but, Maggie, we do exactly what you said we should do. I mean, the department heads, they work on their budgets. We have meetings beforehand. I tell them, look, this is what the tax cap is. This is, in the past, I've said, I want a cut from everyone. I tell people like, this is where we're looking at for, revenue and, increases in healthcare and everything else. And, they try the best they can. And then I sit down and I work with Gene, and sometimes we go back to the department heads and we ask them to maybe reduce it some more. And then, we put together what we think is a good, a fairly good budget. There's things to be taken out. Sometimes there are things to be added back in. If you've been to these budget meetings in the past, we've added, money in at the last minute for paving and things like that. But that's the supervisor presents that to the board, but it's not one and done. The board has every right to have input on the budgets. And my job is not to, hand them a final budget and not give them any control. I want board members to have input in this. They have every right. They're board members. We are all equals on this. And so then what we'll do is we present it to the board, and I'll often ask the board members and they will talk to department heads. I know for a fact they always do. Department heads reach out to board members and they often try to make a case for why they really need something, or they'll, then there are changes, right? And so I know that that's happened. I presented this budget to the board members. Some of them have reached out to maybe all of them, but I know that they've talked to different department heads. Gene and I have then kind of gone back over it with some suggestions from everyone. And so we have, and it was never 10% this year, right? I'm not sure where that number came from, but it's 7%. I have some cuts. I sent them around to board members today, earlier. That brings it down to a 4.92% tax increase, right? And so I would like to make a motion for the board to approve those cuts down to 4.92%. And then we still have 2 more meetings. On the 4th, we're going to have a public hearing. I'd like to set public hearing. We'd like to hear from the public what they think after seeing these, getting the budget down to about 5%. Now, that being said, to get it down to the tax cap of 2%, if we can cut about $300,000 more, or come up with, $300,000 more in, funds, we can make the tax cap, right? And that's a lot of money, but we're working on. We haven't really used their rescue plan funds yet. because there's been a lot of back and forth and what's allowed, what's not allowed. And so we've been very conservative with that. And now, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to work with Gene and we're going to work with the county and try to come up with areas where we think we can make some strategic uses of that. And let's be clear, we only got $350,000 from the rescue plan. We had to give half of our money to the village. So other towns and villages and the city of Kingston got a lot more than we did. So we're not talking millions here that we have to bail us out, but I think in some ways we got the appropriate amount from the federal government to help us try to meet the tax cap. I don't think it gives us lots of extra money to do extra things, but it lets us ease our way back into, as revenues increase and as things return to normal with people using the rec center and courts and things like that. I think we can get there. So that's, I think, like I said, so just to remind, we're down to, if we approve these cuts, we're down to about a 5% tax increase, but I think we could still get lower using these funds strategically. So.
I'll second, but for the purposes of discussion, just kind of one other point I wanted to say too is, relative to the ARP funds, I do think what Edgar highlighted are some kind of important funding points is where we should both apply some of those funding for that to directly impact our residents, but also to bring down the tax liability as much as we can as well. And I will just say too, I kind of know that Edgar had referenced childcare as well. And I think it's just an important point that facility was slated to initially close in 2015. And there was a lot of different conversations and a lot of Band-Aids that were applied to keep that open. It was made available via federal funding that was given about 20 plus years ago. And I think it was a great service that we had. To my knowledge, I think we were one of the only municipalities to provide that type of service. I'd certainly be interested in a model of another local government that is doing that. I'm not familiar with one at this time, so I'm not sure if that's a realistic option for the town at this point. But if there are other municipalities that have a creative solution to that problem, I'd certainly be interested in hearing about how they do it.
Yeah, and if you lived my life for the last year and a half, you'd know that we need childcare. I know we need childcare, believe me. We need it more than anyone. I would have loved to have had that childcare center open for the last year and a half. We didn't, right? I know we need it, but don't tell me what we need because I know we need it. Believe me.
I guess I want to ask, I think Dan, you seconded to accept the cuts that Gene has done our homework to get these cuts down to 4.9 so that we're at a 4.9% increase. Is that what you're seconding?
That is what I'm seconding. And then I went on a broader conversation on the budget and I apologize for that.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to do that. I just want to have a continued conversation here about what's next in this process to get us to the tax cap.
The next,
and I heard Janelle.
Yeah. The next step is, we have the rescue plan funds. And, so we have, if we use all of those funds, we can probably get maybe to the tax cap to 2%. If we cut another $300,000, we can reach the 2% cap. And that's about what we have available to us. So, I would like to use as much of that as we can, but also focus it on areas where, it's doing some good as well. Like, maybe we don't cut as much money out of the youth. Like, so we've made some cuts here to the youth program. In some of these cuts, we cut $5,000 out of their budget. And I'd like to maybe, instead of cutting that money out, put some of that rescue money back in and help the youth program with money like that. And so things like that.
Yeah. I think with this rescue money, I think youth are suffering a lot more than most on coming back from COVID. A lot of kids, I've heard from school districts about kids who were in 5th grade and all of a sudden they're in 7th grade and they haven't been in school. And so that there's a lot of social and emotional challenges that kids are facing. And so things like the youth project, things like Phoenix's work
Phoenix, yeah.
and opioid addiction is like, this is not the time to cut those budgets. This is the time to support those activities as much as we possibly can. And
That's
so
where we wanna
I'd
focus.
love to see some of that money go back into those kind of what are the supports that we can offer our community, because it's challenging out there for a lot of folks in coming back from COVID and a lot of families.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so-
I'd like to kind of second what David said and also just recommend too, if possible, to have Jean at our next meeting to also talk about the use of the ARP funds. I mean, I do think that this was given by us for the federal government to kind of address some of these needs. And I think it's very much a values question, not to throw other municipalities under the bus. Dutchess County is using a significant amount of their funding to build luxury stadium boxes at Dutchess Stadium for the Hudson Valley Renegades. By no means am I saying that's what we should do. It's obviously not what I think we should do, but I think we should have a conversation on what those funds can be used for, what the appropriate use is, and how we can apply it to kind of the value sets we've talked about.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'd also just love to give other department chairs, other department heads, an opportunity to have some time at the next meeting as we go, deep into the budget. Giving Chris and all of our department heads a chance to look at the budget they're sitting with right now and to tell us what their priorities are and tell us where they might have some room so we can all work together as a community to kind of meet the need right now.
Okay,
Totally agree.
sounds good. So all in favor of making these cuts?
Aye.
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 Great. And I'd like to make a motion to set the public hearing for the 2022 town budget for November 4th, 2021 at 7:15 PM.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And I'd like to make a motion to approve the October warrant in the amount of $1,217,194.41.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And that's all she wrote. So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Good
Good
night,
work, everyone.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good work. Take care.
Thanks.